Welcome to Fred Talk, where if you're not learning, hopefully you're laughing.
So, Brian, who do you think the next big baddie should be for the Marvel Universe? Because Thanos is gonna be really hard to top. Not that it needs to top it, but that they set the bar at a really good place with Thanos.
No, and I agree with you 100%. I mean, Josh Brolin brought so much to that role to where, you kind of you didn't feel like you were watching someone that was completely CGI.
Yeah.
The acting was just fantastic, and it's definitely going to be hard to beat. A lot of people are predicting Galactus. I don't think they're going to jump the gun and go right to Galactus. I think they're going to kind of baby step it. And honestly, because of the last Fantastic Four movie and just the way the X-Men, the whole kind of saga has been wrapping up, I think if they're smart, they're going to let it die down a little bit, get the funk of who's going to be Wolverine, it's Hugh Jackman coming back, this, that, and the other. Like they have a good plan for Phase 4. But if I were to guess who the next big bad is, I mean, I'd love to see a Dr. Doom kind of thing going on, to be honest with you.
Yes. I the way I would like it to be would be they kind of make it seem as if Galactus is going to be it. And between now and then, let's say 7 years, 8 years, they go against Dr. Doom a couple of times.
Right.
And they defeat him. Then when Galactus comes, Doom joins them to beat Galactus. They somehow defeat Galactus or fend him away, and then all of a sudden it was a part of Doom's plan, and then now you're in Battle World or something like that.
Yeah.
Like dream, because Dr. Doom is just such a good villain, especially like his motives. I think he can get that emotional attachment, especially when people understand why Dr. Doom wants absolute powers, because he wants to rescue his soul from the depths of hell from Mephisto. So I think you can get that emotional attachment to Doom. Also, he can be super likable as well. So
yeah, and I mean, to me, I think the MCU, where they really, really succeed at, besides the phenomenal storytelling, is that they give their villains like heart and character, and you kind of feel for these dudes, and DC is really, they're starting to catch up there. They did a really bad job with the villains before, whether if it was Suicide Squad, even Justice League with Steppenwolf. It's just kind of like, they're just bad because they're bad. But Marvel, they do a really good job of giving the villains a good story and even somewhat, make them likable. Like even Thanos, it's like, damn, I mean, he kind of has a point.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I remember watching Infinity War, and spoiler warning. I'll put spoiler warnings for anybody at the beginning. But when he had to sacrifice, when he had to get the Soul Stone, what he had to do for it, I remember feeling bad for him, and I was like, oh, that's when you feel bad for the villain. That's how you know it's a good villain. Like I was like, gosh, I was like, that was proof positive that he actually cared about something. Like it was so cool. Like man. What's your personal top 3 or top 5 in the MCU?
As far as movies, characters, movies. Whew, that's a good one. And, it changes. It changes all the time. We got 2 or 3 coming out every year. Obviously, I'm into with everything with, COVID going on, movies getting pushed back. I'm interested to see what happens with Black Widow this year, as well as the Eternals. But if I had to go top 5, and I'll tell you what, I'll do no particular order.
Okay. Yeah, that'll make it easy. Less pressure.
Yeah. Top 5, I got to go Spider-Man Homecoming. I just thought it was a great, not really introduction, because we got introduced to him in Civil War, but again, another story where the villain, Michael Keaton, tremendous as Vulture. And just the story and Tony Stark and just trying to have him grow up a little bit is a great movie. Of course, on there, I got to go with Infinity War. I mean, it's a really close toss-up between that and Endgame. And, I think both of them are honestly in my top 5. I mean, we're talking about finishing up 10 years, 20-something movies in the MCU into 2 films. And, I mean, I don't know if anybody else could have brought it together as well as Kevin, is it Feige? I always fuck his name up.
Feige, yeah.
Yeah.
I used to say Feige, but like Kevin
Feige. Yeah. So, those two. So, yeah, Spider-Man, Thor Ragnarok's a favorite in just the entire household.
I mean, dude, that one. I mean, there's so many laughs in that movie. The visuals. Yeah. It's a really good background movie to keep on too. Like it's great, man.
Exactly. It's a good backdrop movie. My niece and nephew love it. I think it's my daughter's one of her favorites, if not her favorite. And Taika Waititi, I'm sure I probably butchered his name too, but he's a tremendous director. I've liked him since What We Do in the Shadows. Very, very funny kind of indie comedy from New Zealand where he's from. And the guy's just a beast. And I'm glad he's coming back to do Thor, Love and Thunder, I believe it's called.
Yeah.
And then I guess to round it out, it would probably have to be Civil War.
Nice.
Between that and the first Iron Man. The first Iron Man, of course, is what kicked it off. I've been a big Jon Favreau fan ever since Swingers and Made and a bunch of his old school flicks, and especially the movie Chef, I think is probably one of my top 10 films of all time. But just kind of kicking off where we're at in the Marvel universe, it would not have been possible without that movie.
I love those. To add to like a top 5 potential, like if people were to say it, I'm like, hell yeah. One was my favorite until Infinity War. Captain America: Winter Soldier.
Oh, so good,
dude, so good, and it's still relevant today with the whole government overreaching, the surveillance and all that stuff. Really good. Captain America has probably the best trilogy out of any of the single characters. I think in the MCU, Infinity
Agreed.
War and Endgame, those are great. I think Infinity War was a better movie, technically, the fundamentals of a movie, but Endgame had a lot more awesome moments because they were doing all the callbacks and they were, tying everything together. That scene where they all come through the portals, bro. I get chills talking about it.
Big shout out to my buddy Saba who's on the show, and him and I talk about it all the time. And I mean, you're 100% correct. Infinity War, the way they kind of bring it all together is great. I think emotional heartstrings though, Endgame.
Oh yeah.
All day. And just like you said, when they come through the portals and then the Cap on your left. And then Boromir comes back to him and the Avengers assemble. I mean, if that doesn't give you chills, I don't know what's wrong with you.
So what got you into this type of genre of art, like comic books and stuff like that?
It all started when I was little. I grew up in a little town called Johnson City, New York. So not to be confused with Johnson City, Tennessee. It's Johnson City, New York. It's not even on the map. It's right outside of Syracuse, right next to Binghamton. And, this was like 80s, early 90s, and not a lot to do, when you're not outside, either playing baseball or football or whatever. So to keep myself entertained, there was a couple little hobby shops around, and it was collecting baseball cards, collecting basketball cards, and comic books.
Nice.
So when I was younger, I was really big. I think Ghost Rider was probably one of my favorite ones that I remember getting into early. Yep. X-Force.
Did you used to watch the Fantastic Four animated?
Yeah. Yeah.
You remember when Galactus was terrorizing Earth and he rolled up and he did the pendant stare to Galactus? Do you remember that episode? I thought that was bad. I was like, what? Ghost Rider can do that? And Galactus. I was like, oh shit. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good, man. You're good. But yeah, I mean, that's just how I grew up, was just on comic books, just one after another. And of course, the X-Men animated series is probably one of my favorites of all time.
Classic.
And then, we had this little movie that kind of, to me, really helped jump it off more than anything is Blade. Blade came out like 98, I think, 97, something like that. And I think that's when people really started to realize, like, A, we could do a rated R comic book movie, but B, we could also make it good.
Yes.
And even though it wasn't MCU back then, none of that stuff, I think that's really what helped kind of propel. I think to me that really kicked off the X-Men movies was how good Blade did.
Would you say that Blade was like the first good? Oh no, because before that there was Batman and Superman before that. So yeah. Sorry.
No, you're good. And Batman and Superman were definitely great, but I think as far as Marvel though, that's probably one of the first really good Marvel ones. I mean, DC with Tim Burton doing Batman 1 and Batman Returns is awesome. You know, the Superman movies with Christopher Reeves were great.
Yep.
So, you know, and I mean, of course, the TV shows, they were kind of campy or whatever, but that's the way they were supposed to be.
Yep.
Not a lot of CGI back when Lou Ferrigno was playing the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah. Nice. So what do we got here? So so one thing that we talked about was creating those memories with your family through pop culture. And I mean, you have a pop culture podcast called Zero Dark Nerdy, which awesome name, by the way. That's
Thank you. It took a rename, but I think we got it.
Yeah, when you renamed it, I'm like, oh, that's it. There it is. Like, so pop culture has been such a huge influence in building these family memories. Tell me a little bit about that, man.
Yeah, it definitely all started with my dad and my parents. You know, movie night has been a staple in our household since we were little kids. You know, RIP to Blockbuster. I can't tell you how many weekends we would spend at a Blockbuster Video. Like, all right, parents get to pick a movie for them. There's a family movie that we would all get to pick, and then the kids would kind of get to pick a movie. And it definitely all started with that. I mean, even now to this day, a lot of my dad and I's conversations aren't so much about, like, you know, deep, like, life and this and the other. Like, of course, I love the man, and I will still go to him for advice. But the majority of our conversations, just like it is with my daughter, is pop culture related, whether if it's sports, you know, hey, did you check this movie out? Did you check this show out? And as a family, you know, my sisters and I, we have a couple group chats and then DM chats where literally we will respond to each other and nothing but pop culture memes. I mean, that's just how we communicate. So there's people in the Hernandez household for quite some time. And I mean, we get together, we do board games, we'll play some video games. You know, we go to the movies a lot. I think probably more than any other family out there. And my dad has instilled it in me that I have to get to the movie theater like half an hour early. It's almost like going to the airport. You got to get there 2 hours early to go through.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. Hispanics, dude. Yeah, we get there 2-3 hours early, bro. Like, yeah, you get it.
Yep. That's right. So yeah, and you know, my friends will pick on me, and they're like, "What time are you going to be there?" I'm like, "You know, I'm going to be there minimum half hour early." So it's just that's how it came up.
That's awesome, man. Family movie night. We used to do those. I remember it was every Wednesday. Each person of the family would rotate. We'd pick a movie and we get some takeout. It was typically, you know, living in New York, it was Chinese or pizza.
Yeah.
When it was my turn to pick, it was my first, and this was my last time to pick. They took my rights away. I picked the movie Pootie Tang.
Sarate.
I'm gonna catch you on the run it kind. Like, you know, my mom was like the whole time, "What the hell is this? Freddie, what the hell?" After that, I could never pick a movie. Worth it. If I could rewind time, I'd pick the same movie again.
Hey, the funny thing is, your mom will remember that for the rest of her life, though. They'll probably bring it up to you like around Christmas. Remember that one time we let Freddie pick a movie?
Yes. Yep. My mom's like, I don't know what the hell. I still don't know what that is to this day. Like, that's cool though, man. Like, I mean, it's so true. Like, bridging for families, like bridging those. It's another bridge to connection via sports. Yeah. Or you know, anything pop culture related. I like the Yankees. I just recently became a Mets fan, but I like the Yankees for the longest time because my stepdad liked the Yankees, and it was a way for us to connect. And I was trying to find ways to connect with them. And I remember when they would be in the playoffs, and like he'd fall asleep, and I wake him up like the Yanks won. It was just like, oh hell yeah, like it was our time to connect, man. So it's cool that you bring this up because I think a lot of people can think of pop culture and they think of it as like Kardashian or something like that.
Right.
I'm sure families build connection through Kardashians, which is great. That's fine. But like, you know, but a lot of people like to look at pop culture as this like low level thing when I think it's the opposite. I can argue it's the opposite. It's a sign of the times. It's a timestamp. It's like you know, think about that. Like, there's certain songs that bring me back to a time where I was like, man, I remember this was the summer when I was 16 years old.
Right.
I was figuring things out. I was getting a little bit more comfortable talking to women and shit like that. And it brings you back to a good time. So
yeah. That's so true, man. I mean, because there's songs, even movies, where I'm like, I know who I was dating at that time, who I went to that movie with, when this song came out, I was DJing at this bar at this time.
Yeah.
And I think you're 100% right, man. To me, it's not something where it's just like, oh, it's just pop culture. And, but it was, for the longest time, it was always nerdy shit. Now it's, for lack of a better term, mainstream. But to me, I think it's a commonality that brings people together. At the end of the day, if you meet someone, whether if you're just sitting like having hibachi and you're sitting next to a couple strangers, I mean, someone can bring something up in a conversation, whether if it is the Kardashians, whether if it is, Tiger King or whatever it is. And I mean, you can instantly kind of form a conversation, and it's a great icebreaker to kind of let people get to know each other. I mean, back, I remember in my younger days, just kind of when you're out courting the ladies, I guess you would say, one of the things that you always ask kind of at the beginning is, hey, what kind of movies do you like? What TV shows do you watch? So to me, I definitely think it's a lot more than just like low level ideas that people may think it is.
Yeah, dude, it's really deep for me as a person that likes to read self-development books and get better and things like that, or like find little sources of inspiration. I found like Tony Robbins, after I read a few books, it doesn't do it that much for me now, but what does for me is like I'll watch a clip from like a movie scene or something. Yeah. Or like,
oh God, yeah.
Or quotes from a comic book, like Uncle Ben's "With great power comes great responsibility" becomes more relevant and important the older I get. I'm like, as you get to a position and you start to be responsible for people that may need help or things like that. Like don't abuse your power, use it for good. Right. Things like that, man. What's one of your favorite like Marvel comic book or MCU like moments like give you kind of like inspiration?
As far as inspiration, I mean, gosh, there's so many in the MCU. Of course, in Homecoming, where Peter Parker's kind of stuck under the rubble. Of course, again, spoilers ahead if you haven't seen Homecoming yet. And he's kind of like asking for help, and you see him coming into his own. Like, you know what, I know I'm like a teenager, but I gotta man up. I gotta do this. Yeah. And seeing him come into his own. One that really kind of chokes me up is, and Saba and I talk about this one too, in Endgame, where you see, obviously after the events of Civil War, and they don't see each other in Infinity War either, is when Cap and Tony Stark, they're like, listen, we need to go back to whatever it was, the 50s or whatnot. Do you trust me? And, after their last encounter was not great, obviously, that a little bit there. And then, of course, Tony getting to hang out with his father. Heartstrings all day. And just like you, like my dad's a big Yankee fan, and that's really one of the only sports teams he follows. And we'll watch a lot of sports movies as well. Like 61 is one of our favorites, talking about the year of 61 with Mantle and Roger Maris going at it. It's an HBO movie, very, very good. But yeah, sports movies get me all choked up too. Like, remember the Titans? Yeah. Pacino's speech in Any Given Sunday. If that doesn't get you pumped up, I don't know what the hell will. But I agree. But as far as MCU, those are definitely three of my scenes that kind of get me like, all right, let me go out there and do some shit.
That scene with Tony Stark and his father is really, really deep because I at least when I analyze it, because he doesn't know that that's his son, right? So and there's two times that, other than that, Howard Stark is kind of like, quote unquote, a dick to him. Very cold, doesn't open up. But he opens up to Tony twice, and it's when Tony's not around. And I think that touches on how, for a certain generation especially, it might be hard for a father to open up to his son, like to be vulnerable. He does it in Iron Man 2. I believe in Iron Man 2. And the video when he says, he's like, I can't. He's like, I'm held back by the technology of my time. You can do this. He's like, you are by far my greatest creation. Like that moment. Yeah. And then when he talks to who doesn't know he's his son, and he tells him, like, I don't know, he just opens up to him in that moment, and he gets to see like, oh shit, my dad is proud of me, or like my dad loves me, or like he's figuring it out. Like it's like or he makes him feel better about parenting and all that. It's great, man. Like such a like heartwarming moment.
Agreed, man. MCU, I tell you, it's just a well-oiled machine. They tug at all the heartstrings, all of them.
I love it, man. I love that now. And what kind of annoys me a little bit is the Marvel versus DC thing.
Right.
Like, I'm like, I want all these movies to do well. I want to see. I want them all to do what so that way they can keep making more of them. They can literally make a bunch of them. There's so many storylines.
God, a ton.
And the characters become super relatable. I'm like, I hate that DC rushed the Justice League.
Yep.
They did not have to do that. We would have loved to take our time and see every character, build an emotional attachment, and then put them together. They didn't even have to wait 10 years. They could have done it in 5 or 7 years,
Right.
But yeah, it's just people ask me, what's your favorite DC or Marvel? I'm like, I just want a good storyline. Make me feel something, like, what's your, who's your favorite character in the MCU?
Ooh, gosh, I should have been ready for this one. Man, I tell you, I gotta go with, gosh, this is tough. This is real tough. There's a big part of me that really wants to go with Peter Quill.
Ooh, that's a good choice. Why? Let's talk this one out. I like that.
Yeah. It's just obviously a lot of people are mad at him because of Infinity War. But before all that, I mean, he's hysterical. He's one that likes to just kind of just live in the moment. You could tell he's not really big into planning and strategy. But I like the connection, of course, that they had between him and his mother, and that storyline, and how he comes from Earth and then was just kind of picked up by that group. I can't think of the name right now, but the Ravagers, and that whole dynamic between him and Yondu, especially in Guardians 2, where he's like, I may not have been I may not have right. And then of course the Mary Poppins y'all and all that stuff too. And I had the pleasure of actually meeting Michael Rooker right before he signed on to do Guardians of the Galaxy. This is like right after he wrapped up The Walking Dead, and he is honestly one of the nicest individuals I ever met. But I've been a big fan of Chris Pratt, obviously, since Parks and Rec, but just that character, just kind of like the carefree kind of like Han Solo, but just a little bit more chill. He doesn't really have his Chewbacca yet, but and how he helps form this little family of misfits. And just their interactions with each other. So, I got to go with Peter Quill, good old Star-Lord.
That's a great choice, man. And that scene with him and Thor when they first meet each other in Infinity War, it's like that's like deep laughs, bro. Just the back and forth.
Gosh, yeah.
And then at the end of it where they're like, he's like, no, you're the captain. Like, it's like Thor's just totally messing with him. Like,
I really cannot wait to see more of that dynamic because apparently the Guardians are going to play a little role in the next Thor movie.
Yes, nice.
So, that dynamic too. And I think they've just done a great job with Chris Hemsworth and the whole Thor dynamic. The first 2 movies are obviously not in everybody's top 10.
Nope.
Probably not even in the top 20.
Yeah.
But like I said, I think Taika Waititi just did a great job of bringing out the humanity in them, throwing in some comedy, and just nailed it. And now he went from like my least favorite character to literally one of my favorites.
Dude, yes, and that just shows you how, once again, badass the MCU is that they can do that. They can go from making what could have been a forgettable character had it not been Thor to now it's like, that movie is probably a mainstay in like somebody's top 5.
Yeah.
So
agreed.
Nice. What which upcoming MCU project are you most anticipating?
As much as I do want to check out Black Widow, and of course I'm going to check it out. I really am interested to see what's, to me, is really going to kick off phase 4 of the MCU, which is the Eternals. This is an exciting time right now for me, for the MCU, and it should be for everybody, because we've always known that like Thanos has been looming. We've known since at the end of the first Avengers when he makes that very short cameo, like, okay, he's gonna. And then they had the little appearances in Guardians, and little mid-credit and end-credit scenes here and there, and then of course, like I said, Josh Brolin knocked it out of the park. But now we kind of enter a post-Avengers world now, where we're not going to see the same characters over and over again, except for Thor and then the Guardians and Black Panther, but the main group, Cap, Iron Man, and after Black Widow, I don't really know where they're going to go with that. I am interested to see, because it's going to, Eternal is going to be more, I think it's going to tie in a lot of the history that we've seen little bits and pieces of, as far as the, what is it? Not the Essentials. not the Immortals. I can't think of the damn name, but pretty much the people that help create the stones. I cannot think of it, but I think it's going to show a little bit of the history of the MCU. So
the Celestials.
Yes. Yeah. There we go. So I think it's going to tie a lot of that stuff in, which I'm sure a lot of us big fans have had questions about. Yep. And then bring in, we'll finally get to hear the word mutants in the MCU now, since they, Disney purchased Fox and they own the rights to the words, mutant. So I think they're going to tie that in and, go from there. So I'm excited. So those are the big two. Besides that, I know we have obviously Thor, Love and Thunder. I'm very, very excited for. And I think as far as like immediate future, those three, but definitely Eternals. I'm very interested to see what's going to happen with that.
Same here. I don't know what to expect from it, which I'm really excited about. Mm-hmm. For me, it's going to be Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah,
because watching him and the Scarlet Witch work together, I think is going to be great, because we've seen in the movies Scarlet Witch become a little bit more and more powerful, and he arguably in the comics, I know she's arguably the most powerful Avenger. It's like between her and Strange. So it's going to be cool to see Strange. I would assume Strange is going to like mentor her a little bit.
Right.
And to help her like, manifest her powers and all that.
Okay.
And then this is going to be Marvel's first horror movie as well. So I'm curious to see how they pull this off. It's going to be PG-13, so what's
we'll see. No, good point. I'm excited for that too. And there have been the cool thing that Marvel's doing as well is with Disney Plus and their shows. So a lot of the MCU is going to be tying in with the Disney Plus shows like WandaVision, which has Wanda and Vision literally from like in the Brady Bunch to the 50s to now. So I'm interested to see how that plays out. Falcon and Winter Soldier, I'm very interested to see. And then they're doing the Hawkeye TV show where he's going to be grooming his daughter into becoming Hawkeye, and that they're going to kind of intertwine them into the movies. And apparently with Doctor Strange, there's going to be some kind of tidbits from WandaVision going in there. And it's been rumored that Mahershala Ali is going to make his like a little cameo as Blade in the Multitude of Madness movie.
Whoa, that's awesome. Oh, that's so cool.
It's rumored, but we'll see.
it would make sense. I mean, because Blade, like those guys like Blade, Ghost Rider, is Swamp Thing DC?
Yeah, I believe so. Okay.
Yeah, but you get more into that, like the occult and like that kind of stuff too. So that'd be cool to see. I want to talk about, what did you think about? Because I know there was controversy behind this character, Captain Marvel. She got a lot of flack, and I fought it at first, but then I see what people are saying. But I want to get your take on it first. I want to talk about it. Like,
sure. I think like anything. To me, I think the best analogy would be, think if you're a band that kind of came from nothing, you blew up, and one of your members either quit or, God forbid, passed away, and then you got brought on the band, so you didn't have to come up through the grind. You know what I mean? You just kind of like, and it's almost like, I think his name is Jason Newsted. He was the bassist for Metallica. So he came in after Cliff Burton passed away on an accident when they were on the road. And the rest of the members of the band legit like hazed the shit out of this dude for years, because they were like, listen, Cliff came up with us, even though you're here, we're glad you're here. We're going to kind of like haze you into the band because we've made it, we're still making it, and you kind of have a free pass. And I think that's what's kind of like happened, because I've seen some of the YouTube like interviews as well, where you'll see Don Cheadle or, somebody else in the cast, and she's talking and they could give like two shits what she's saying. So, I don't know if it's hazing. I personally like the character. I like Brie Larson. I've liked her, loved her cameo in Scott Pilgrim versus the World. I liked her in Skull Island. So, I mean, I'm a big fan. So, I don't know how much truth I really see in it. I don't know if they're just kind of messing with her because she's the new kid on the block, but we'll see. But I like Captain Marvel, and I liked her cameos, all of 10 minutes as she was in Endgame.
Yeah. I found that there was a lot of vitriol, which I thought was extremely unnecessary with the character. I mean, the movie was good. It definitely, I don't think it sucked by any means.
No.
Good movie, wasn't the best. she's an awesome character. I guess the thing that I guess annoyed me, which I came to grips finally, was with they tried to keep pushing her as the strongest character, which she can be, but when you have Scarlet Witch right there with this rich history, she lost her brother. We have this emotional attachment. They definitely, I mean, I don't know. It did seem like they try to prop her up, but a lot of that vitriol, you know, it comes from like these incel type internet warriors, and I was just like, that's so, it's just so unnecessary. Like,
I agree.
Yeah, and it's and another thing too is like the Hulk. The Hulk, not my favorite Hulk the last few, but we got to let the character change a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
The same people that complain vitriolically about the Hulk being nerfed are the same people that if they didn't do that, they would be like, well, he has no character development. All he does is get angrier and Hulk out. Like, you can't please him. Like, it's just
Yeah, you and I both know, man, it's all hit or miss. You're going to have your trolls out there. You're going to have people that you're never, ever going to make happy, no matter what you do.
Yeah.
You know, my daughter's in film school, and one of the things I try to let her know is, listen, as you come up and, you know, you start to direct and do stuff, go with your heart, go with your passion. You're always going to have people that are going to not like your stuff, and you can't please everybody. But as long as you're happy with what you pump out and you know you gave it your all in your blood, sweat, and tears, that's what matters.
Yeah. That dude, she's so lucky to have a dad like you on her, got her back, man. That's great. That's great advice, man. As a person that, you know, puts out content or performing on stage, I look at it two ways. It's like, the criticism is either true in the sense that it's something that I've been thinking about.
Sure.
If I get it, I'll try to use it constructively, or it's just complete, just out of nowhere, they're just hating. In which case, I try my best to just like ignore that type of stuff. But like, it's already hard enough as an artist. Like you so self-critical of your own stuff that you put out. And I could see how people let the haters or the people who aren't competing in the arena to get under their skin, man. So it's but having, you know, a dad like you that has her back, bro, that's gonna help her out a ton, man. That's awesome, bro.
I appreciate it, man. If I can, Freddie, too, I mean, you're a big inspiration to someone like me. You know, I caught your stand-up last year at the Idiot Box. And, you know, for anyone, you know, any comedian, any entertainer in any form of life to get up and pour themselves out like that on a stage is incredibly inspirational. And to me, you're good. I tell you all the time, I'm like, I can't wait to see you. You know, I know that this is just the beginning. And it's, you know, people don't realize it's a marathon. Like people like, you know, Kevin Hart or whoever it may be, directors, actors, entertainers, you know, it's not an overnight thing. You know, like you and I both know Jay Timber. He's been a very talented musician for quite some time now, and he's still grinding it out. And, you know, it's not an overnight thing.
He was a teenager or something like that, right? Like
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I mean, I love seeing your videos. Like you've kind of inspired me to be more out front because I don't mind doing the voice, and I've always been camera shy. Like I have stage fright, I have anxiety, you know, I suffer from depression and all that, and I try to get through it, which is why I started a pop culture podcast with my friends. But, you know, seeing someone like you and your videos are so damn funny. I love them. I just crack up.
Thanks,
so you've kind of inspired me this year to be like, all right, you know, get out there, you know, don't try to push it and be something you're not, but get your face out there and do some more. So I have to thank you.
That means a lot to me, man. And and hearing this it solidifies the direction I want to go in, because now somebody can see you doing it and figuring it out, and they go, okay, I can do it too. Like, and I, you know, I get like the, you know, situational depression and stuff like that. This medium, the feeling I get after I get done doing a podcast, is great. Like, I tell people, if like start a podcast, start a YouTube channel, even if you don't even want to put it out, just start recording something and talking. And you know, because if you get 0 followers, at the very least, if you have kids, they have something that they could go back to when you're not around anymore, and they can be like, oh damn, especially if you're putting like the vulnerable stuff out there, they can be like, oh shit, this is dad going through some shit right now. Like he's audio journaling it or video journaling, and I think it could, I don't know, something that can help that maybe our generation didn't have, you know. I know some people had journals and things like that, but it's something that I think they can go back to and be like, oh, he's still here with me in these videos or these writings and things like that. So
agreed.
It's really cool, man.
Agreed.
What do you think? Oh, there's another female character. Oh, Valkyrie.
Oh gosh, love her.
How awesome is she, dude?
Love her. Oh my goodness gracious! I need to catch up on, because I forgot that she was also in Westworld.
Oh, that's right.
the same actor, so I need to get caught up. I've only seen season 1. I waited for season 3 to come out so I can watch season 2. But yeah, Valkyrie is a dope character, and I would love to see obviously more of the backstory before Hela came on, and Hela too. Like,
yes.
She's probably one of my favorite villains in the MCU.
Yeah,
Blanchett just came on the scene, and not that I ever found her unattractive before, but after she played Hela, I was like, hello.
Yeah, right?
How are you doing over there?
Yeah, when she breaks Thor's hammer, I'm like, that's the kind of strong woman I need in my life. You know?
She ain't taking no shit.
Yeah. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, but yeah.
Woman, she don't need no man.
No man, no hammer, none of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
I think a Valkyrie solo movie would be great because of that.
Gosh.
You could talk about, I mean, even that scene in Ragnarok where they show the clip of the Valkyries falling from grace. Like, that's like Renaissance picturesque type of imagery, man. It was awesome. So I would love to see her, like, what is it, origin story type thing. Yeah. And I love that Thor gave her the reins now, dude.
She's the queen.
Yep. That's a great character that I think it's one of those, because some people are like, oh, they're pushing an agenda, blah, blah, blah. So you kind of have to navigate that. With Valkyrie, I don't think it would ever be pushing an agenda. And if anybody were to say that, they're just lying, because we've seen this character a few times. We know her backstory a little bit. We've seen her growth, and she's a badass. And also the fact that when we first meet her, she's like this alcoholic. Like,
does a little... Yeah.
There's something to like a character. Like, there's something in American culture. We like the fuck up that's also really, really good at something. Kind of like House. House was that guy. Like, he had the pill addiction, but he could like solve this like complex case in a week or something. Like,
right. Yeah. I mean, I definitely don't think it's just the underdog. I mean, we definitely pull for like the fuck ups that can save the day.
Yes. Yeah. Hell yeah, man. So what do you think about the most, Brian? We'll wrap it up here. This is typically what I wrap it up with this question. Yeah, man. So what do you think about the most?
As far as what I think about the most is, not so much leaving behind a legacy. My thing is, what am I doing to continue to grow, as a person, as a brother, as a son, as a father. Yeah. And if anything, that's definitely where I beat myself up, is if I take, 2 steps back and just like, what do I got to do the talk in the mirror? Like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? And I'm getting ready to also hit 40 here in the next couple months. So it's like, I've had my fun. Not saying I'm going to stop having fun. I mean, I'm always going to have fun. But at the end of the day, though, just, what am I doing to really just better myself and better those around me? And what can I do to help my family more, to be a better friend to my friends? Financially, I'm doing a lot better than I was in the past, which is good. Before, it was just kind of like I'd have money and just spend it on whatever. And I'm being a little bit more frugal as I get older. Nice. And just trying to teach my daughter the best lessons. I mean, I've definitely messed up my fair share throughout my lifetime. She knows I'm far from perfect. I know I'm far from perfect. I'll never be perfect. I'm totally fine being who I am. And just surrounding myself with, just a tight-knit, close to friends, group of friends, and, really just doing the best I can. That's really probably what crossed my mind the most, is just what can I do to be better every day and to be better for those around me?
Hell yeah, man. Well, I feel like, dude, you're on your way there, man. From, I know you, I don't know, I could see the love you have for your daughter on social media. When we did our first podcast that I freaking lost about a year and a half ago, I remember it was a lot about family. It was a lot about your daughter, making sure she was good, man. And I feel that, man. It inspires me as I look forward to having my own family as well. Like, it gives me like this glimmer of hope. I'm like, because there's that, I guess, the nervousness about going into it. Yeah, I'm like, it's cool to have people that I'm around that are trying their best to be good fathers and just, good, like you said, friend, brother, son, and all that. So it's cool. It's cool to be connected with you, man. And I appreciate everything you put out, man. Seriously.
Yeah, no, you too. Like I said, you've been a big inspiration, man. I can't wait to see, where these roads lead us. So hopefully big things for the both of us. I definitely want to collab some more. Yes. We're going to be doing more stuff with the little roadcaster over here. So that way on the next one, I'll have a couple people on the show. We can interview you, do a little like desert island scenario, kind of like the quarantine edition of the episode. So would love to have you on, man. But definitely, always keep me posted when all this mess blows over. I know you can't wait to get back up on that stage and keep ripping it like you were.
Dying.
And
I'm dying,
bet,
bro. I'm like, it's so bad.
I bet. Have you thought about, and I would love to, pump this as much as I can too. Obviously you've been seeing like musicians and DJs do stuff out there. You thought about, and I know it's probably weird because you won't get the laughter like feedback that comedians would thrive off of. And I don't know any other comedians that are doing it, but have you thought about doing something like a Facebook Live, just doing like a little set for, everybody else that's quarantined and not locked up, but on lockdown?
I have, and I was a little apprehensive because of everything you just named. Like, I don't know about the feedback. Is it just going to be weird? I watched a couple of comedy sets and they weren't. It's definitely obviously not the same, but there was something to it. And I was like, I think I can figure this out. Like, it doesn't have to be, because I was thinking I'll, set up a mic, have it be like very like we're in a comedy club, but instead of that and trapping myself in that, I can do a mix of, hey, I'm not at a comedy club. I can use the fact that like I'm in a screen. I have my room, the office I have now, there's no furniture in it except this chair. Okay. So I can use that. I can move this chair. I can move around. Use the fact that I don't have a screen, like come in and out of shots.
Yeah.
Coming up, like shit like that. So like I'm gonna do it. I'll be doing my first one this upcoming Thursday. Okay. But I'll probably be doing more just because I need to get stuff out. And even if I burn material, I really don't give a shit. I gotta keep creating, man. And I've been doing more podcasts, but there's the stand-up itch is something that's the thing I love the most out of everything. So
I bet. And I said, I think you're very talented. So whatever we can do to pump it on our website, our podcast, our social media, let me know. Again, hell yeah, I'm glad that we've gotten to know each other. We got a bunch of mutual friends. And just real quick too, like how do you just so I know too, because I know it's like Clack and then Krieger and Steinhorn. Did you meet those guys from wrestling?
Yeah, we wrestled in college.
Okay, I thought so.
That's how it all started. Steinhorn did not wrestle.
He played tennis, right?
He played tennis. Yeah. Well, funny story about him was we were at Stumbles and we were at the bar and we were talking and the bar, I forgot who was bartending, but he goes, hold on. He goes, Steinhorn, he goes, you don't wrestle? He goes, no, I play tennis. It gets quiet. He goes, I gave you a lot of unnecessary respect throughout the years.
That was probably Flathers, the owner.
Because Jason's a shit talker. So it's like a lot of people probably thought he was a wrestler. It's like, all right, I'm not going to do anything to him because he's a wrestler. Like,
damn, that's awesome.
So where can people find your podcast?
Yeah. So we're everywhere that I don't want to say imaginable, but your main normal formats: iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube, the big four. Definitely check us out on our website. It's popculturepodcast.com. Doesn't get any easier than that. I saw that domain name was available and had to snatch that right up. Nice. So it's not zerodarknerdy.com. Unfortunately, somebody already had that name. So it's popculturepodcast.com. But the podcast and website, everything else, the Facebook page, social media, Zero Dark Nerdy, you'll be able to find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and then of course our YouTube page. So like, subscribe. We're always down to hear new show ideas. It's like infinite show ideas, but I always like hearing what other people want to hear and get into. And of course, I'm sure we'll be having one soon on Tiger King.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask that too, so people know this was a very MCU heavy thing. Yeah, because I'm most connected with that. But what other types of pop culture do you guys cover typically? Yeah,
honestly, I try to spread it out as best as possible. Not for our fans and just for ourselves too. Of course, the majority of what we do is movie reviews. We do love horror movies. My daughter and Jordan, who's on the show. So my daughter's name is Jordan. My buddy Jordan on the show. They're big fans of A24. They've released Hereditary, The Lighthouse, The Witch.
Oh, so that my buddy who's into movies talks about A24. So I think
that's a movie studio.
The novel thing about this studio is that they don't front the money. What they do is they buy script from independent writers and artists. And that's why these movies are coming out so good, because you don't have executive suits necessarily getting their hands in it and ruining the movie. So A24 is the name of the studio?
Yeah, A24 is the name of the studio. They're based in New York City. Like I said, I can't wait for all this to blow over so we can go back to I believe you also know Amy Pitts.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Amy's a good friend of ours. Tila, big shout out to them so we can see them. Hopefully New York Comic-Con won't be canceled. Go up for that. But I do want to take her to go to I don't think it's an actual studio, but the offices for A24. They do. I mean, for lack of a better term, they make really good art house films.
Nice.
And I don't mean art house in a crappy way. I mean, just really, really solid independent horror movies for the most part. And they're starting to really bring in some big actors. But yeah, I mean, we cover, you know, a lot of hip hop. A lot of us are big fans of hip hop. Big shout out to Run the Jewels 4 coming out soon.
Nice.
We've had their DJ on the show before. So we do a lot of music episodes, concerts, things like that, TV episodes. Literally, I mean, just about anything pop culture. The last episode we dropped was on board games. I was like, what?
Wow, nice.
Drop a board game episode than right now when people are at home with their families. So we try to do it with what's going on, but you know, when I'm not saying nothing's ever not going on, but we try to hit up, you know, birthdays and anniversaries too. Last year, right around this time, we released an episode for Tarantino's birthday, just favorite Tarantino movies, flicks, and you know, just stuff like that. We just try to keep it fun.
Nice. Yeah, you guys are a great podcast to keep in the mix of you know, the podcast, especially if you, I like to have variety in my
stuff.
Yeah, of course.
Man.
Like, you know, I like the serious stuff, self-development. I like silly stuff. Like, yeah, that's awesome, man. Instagram, what's your Instagram handle?
So Instagram's a little bit different. If you still type in Zero Dark Nerdy, we will show up. But Instagram, it's going to be ZDN_podcast.
Awesome. Hell yeah, brother. Thank you so much for being on the show, dude. Guys, remember to subscribe, rate, and review to the Fred Talk podcast and Zero Dark Nerdy. It's just fun all around, man. We're just trying to put positive vibes out.
That's right.
Ryan, I love you, brother.
Right.
Thanks for being on the show, man. Stay safe out there, man.
All right, you too.
See you.
Yeah! Victory!
And anger management?
Fuck anger management.